Hello guys! Welcome back. We are here for Ari's one and only bad ending, which is going to be very painful for me to do, but my completionism demands I see everything, so here we are. As you can see, we are in Chapter 1, so I've skipped all the common root stuff, nothing changed there. And the only trait that I have for this that's like a definite is the stubborn trait. And this is the first choice that we get in Chapter 1, and it's also the first choice that's different. I imagine I'll have some Fade to Black stuff going on while I'm skipping this time through. There should be less changes in text, she says, as if she knows anything about anything, but I imagine that's the case, but we will see. Anyway, first choice first. I'm gonna be cautious and stay where I am for now. I resisted the urge to push his hands away and stayed where I was, for the time being. Elbowing someone in the head for another daring escape attempt probably wasn't the best idea, so I'd have to convince him. I think I'm feeling well enough for a walk.
Perhaps, but you only recently awoke. I don't believe it's wise to get out of bed yet.
I just want to see where I am.
I've told you where you are.
Okay, but you also kidnapped me. That puts a small dent in your credibility. His face, wah.
We didn't. We apprehended you as per our orders.
I want to see it with my own eyes. Ari didn't look convinced, but I didn't back down this time.
I'm certain Dr. Sosky will complain if he learns you've left your room.
I'll listen to his complaints then.
I will also have to listen to them, you realize.
Am I a prisoner here?
Of course not. But you are a patient.
If I'm not a prisoner, then I want to get up and look around. He crossed his arms, resting the tips of 2 fingers against his temple. For a long time, he watched me, tapping the side of his face. Oh no! Emotions rising! Must calm down. Sorry, Ari. When he didn't speak again, I made another attempt to stand. Ari didn't stop me this time, but hovered nearby as if worried I would fall. Or maybe try to bolt out the door. I'm not going to run away again, you know.
I'm not concerned about that.
I suppose he wouldn't be, considering he could teleport. Then again, I could too. Sometimes. Can you please stop hovering?
Very well. I'll allow this. But we will not go far, and I'll stay with you the entire time. Dr. Sosky will complain regardless, but my presence will hopefully divert his lecture away from you.
He left my side and went to a nearby cabinet, from which he pulled out some kind of bundle. What's that?
I assume you would prefer to wear something other than a medical gown.
I glanced down at myself, not having realized I was wearing one. Though it made sense, of course. I suppose so. Ari handed me the clothes, then nodded and stepped outside to allow me to dress. Alright, so now, skip town. Okay, so I skipped through Chapter 2, and only one other choice, which we picked before. So now we're in the elevator with Vaughn, and this time I'm going to pick the emotional response, which is I don't think I could sacrifice people knowingly. Even if I knew there might be a worse outcome later. I feel like I'd have to save the people in immediate danger and worry about the others later on.
I think that's a natural response. Act now, hope the future works out. I guess our council has seen enough to feel that isn't a workable strategy. I mean, it's one thing to allow events to happen as they naturally would. It's another thing to intervene, knowing you'll cause harm. In the first situation, you're not responsible for hurting anyone. In the second situation, you kind of are.
It sounds complicated. Too complicated for me.
Huh. Yeah. The Moirai have it tough. All of them.
Her voice sounded so sad when she said that. I guess she'd know firsthand, with her sister being in the group and all. Okay, any other changes here? Doesn't look like it. Okay, well, I'll skip again. Okay, so it's more than a couple choices later. We did the match, and I was analytical, so that's a good match with Caleb. And I was stubborn and said I don't think it's the same, Ari. The dangers are not the same. And now we're with Vaughn on the way to the lounge, and the lovers' quarrel is happening. Vaughn and I shared a look, but neither of us stopped. A small voice at the back of my mind said interrupting an argument was a bad idea. And another voice said Ari was probably just standing there while someone yelled at him. Because this was Ari, after all. And that made me want to break in and tell whoever it was to get off his back. Nice. Not that he needed me to protect him, but I knew he wasn't about to stand up for himself. Besides, he was late to our training session, apparently because someone waylaid him. And that irritated me. Unfortunately, I realized it as soon as I saw who he was arguing with that it might not have been the best idea to interrupt. Hello. Ari was across the room near the galley with his back to the wall. In front of him was a red-faced and teary Heidi.
Why won't you help me? If I raise my night scores a few more points, I'll qualify for the expansion! You aren't going to raise your score 5 points with a few months of training. You have years of work ahead of you if that's your goal. You don't know that! Any other knight will suffice if that's what you are attempting. You're the top knight in Endgame! I have other obligations. Morgan's training is my priority at the moment. Training Morgan is a complete waste of your time! She doesn't even belong here!
Maybe we should just leave before they see us.
If you have an issue with Morgan, perhaps you should discuss it with her. Considering she's right here, now might be a good time to air some grievances.
Thanks, Vaughn. Thanks, you two. Yeah, this is definitely the best time to have a calm and collected conversation. Ari looked our way as if he was completely unsurprised we were there, but Heidi spun around, guilt flashing over her features. But her jaw tightened, and she lifted her chin as she glared at us.
Eavesdropping isn't nice. Neither is talking about someone behind their back. Get her, girl.
Ooh, new choice that I haven't seen before. What am I doing here? Oh, I'm siding with Vanessa all the way. Of course I am. Vaughn's right. If you have a problem with me, it would be best to talk to me about it. I understand my arrival has been difficult for more than just me.
You don't understand anything! Having a position I worked for stolen from me by some outsider? That position was never yours to begin with. Only because I can't get the help I need to get there. It's not my responsibility to help you. But it's your responsibility to help her? You don't even know her!
Neither do you. So I'm struggling with why you think it's okay to attack me like this.
Because you don't belong here. That's enough! This is stupid. Is this the kind of thing they're encouraging down in the lower levels? Because I may need to come personally teach you kids some manners if it is.
I saw Heidi's expression tighten when Vaughn said the word lower levels. But I guess she wasn't willing to pick a fight with someone of Vaughn's rank. Just a knight and a queen, no biggie. Instead, she shot another glare my way and stormed out of the room, leaving awkward silence in her wake.
I would appreciate it if you stopped trying to instill bad habits in Morgan, Vanessa.
I'm not some impressionable child.
I'm going to instill every single bad habit I have if you keep not showing up for your training sessions. It was not my intention to be late.
Let's just get back to the training room. It wasn't like I wanted to come to the lounge and hear something like that anyway.
You sure you're okay?
I'm fine. I really am. I'll see you later, Vaughn.
Yeah. Don't let this guy work you too hard.
I'll try. Well, that was awkward, but it's fine. We skip in again, so, yeah. What am I doing this time? Ooh, confident version. Refuse to be played against another agent like that. Okay. I don't know what this does, but I guess we're gonna find out. I grabbed Ari's arm and pulled him down closer so I could speak to him without the others hearing. I'll try it again, but I'm not okay with you playing me and another agent against each other here. I shot a quick glance towards the door. There are already issues between the two of us, and I don't need you making them worse.
I'm only trying to help.
I understand that, but I don't like how this feels like a contest. And you know there's already tension between us. Learning how to side-burst isn't the only important thing here, Ari. I also need to be able to function in this organization and get along with other people I may need to work with in the future. Giving her the opportunity to gloat over outdoing me, or making her feel bad by having me outdo her, won't help with that.
Perhaps you're right. However, what's done is done, and I would still like you to try again.
Fine. I don't have a problem with it. Just don't use underhanded methods to make me mad in the hopes I'll do it right.
Then put your full effort into it so I don't have to.
Ugh! I hated the insufferable way he said that. I released him and faced the crumpled target again, trying to hold in my frustration. Nah, let it all out, girl. Fine. He wanted my full effort? Then fine. I shut my eyes and one more time slowed my breathing until I could see the psi energy in my mind's eye again. And then, without waiting, I threw it towards the target as hard as I could. It still wasn't like the one at the vivarium. I never wanted to do that again. But it was the strongest one I'd managed since then. Interesting, so I remembered that, eh? The force of it made me stagger back, and this time the psi burst hit the target with a flash that temporarily blinded me. There were a few soft cries from the door, then murmured whispers. The target, what was left of it, was letting off a thin stream of smoke. And there was a chunk missing from the wall behind it as well, cracks splaying outward in a massive spiderweb from a central scorched mark. Too bad I didn't put a hole in it. Well, you did in another lifetime.
Well done. It looks like we're finally making progress.
I glared at him, really wanting to smack that look off his face. Alright, Ari turned back to where the others were while I took a water break. So, I'm getting my water, bleh, to all of you. Okay, so I should be skipping for a little while again. Actually, right now is the time. We gotta give Heidi space. We're really being, like, anti-Heidi this run, and it makes me nervous. Because I'm like, what's gonna happen during the bomb situation? You know? I'm a little anxious. I wanted to talk to her. I mean, no one else was around. It might have been the perfect time to clear the air, but it was probably best to give her space for now. The incident yesterday hadn't helped the tension between the two of us, though I understood why Ari had done it. But I imagined it meant I should save trying to bond with her for some other time. Or that was the plan, anyway. But a few minutes later, I felt her approaching my table. Oh joy. When I looked up, our eyes met briefly. I half expected some rude or cutting remark from her, but instead she looked down at the display in front of me. Okay, she's being friendly? Question mark? Is that an assignment briefing report? Yes? Huh. So she was talking to me first. That was a surprise. Then again, I should probably brace myself for some kind of snide remark, as usual. Heidi smirked down at me. Did they give you some puff assignment to show you off or something? Here we go. I wouldn't take the bait, though. If she wanted to be angry at me by herself, fine. But I wouldn't contribute to it. This time. It was too exhausting to constantly have to be ready to snark at someone else. And I had other things to worry about it. Well, it's not like doing field work on Syrah or anywhere else, but I don't think it's a puff assignment either. Well, good luck with that, I guess. When she started away, against my better judgment, I decided to maybe try to talk to her. She'd reached out first, so I might take the chance to clear the air? Heidi, wait.
Was there something else?
Look, I just wanted to say sorry. I continued before she could ask why, though I could see the words were on the tip of her tongue. For taking the position you were aiming for taking the tutor you wanted. I'm sorry for throwing things off kilter for you. I never wanted to do any of that. And I know what it's like to feel like your goals were pulled from under you. She hadn't been expecting me to say that. Her eyes widened for a moment, and I saw her jaw working as she tried to work out how to respond.
Ari is only training you because he has to, you know.
I am aware of that.
But even if that wasn't true, he wouldn't be willing to train me. He turned me down before you even showed up. It's not like your apology changes that.
I hope you're aware he's concerned about you.
So he's refusing to help because he's concerned.
It's obvious to others you're pushing yourself really hard. Maybe too hard.
I don't need you to tell me that.
Because I'm an outsider? I don't think I have to be someone who was raised here to make that kind of observation.
What I do is none of your concern.
I don't want to fight with you. I just hoped I could...
What? What can you do for me? Convince the best knight in the organization to help me? Train me yourself? You barely even know how to do anything. You can't help me. And I don't need your pity.
It isn't pity. We're colleagues now, whether or not we want to be. I want to help you.
Thanks for the offer, but forget about it. I don't need your help.
Man, she's tough to deal with.
Good luck with your puff assignment. Just try not to embarrass us. Some of us actually care about this job. Well, that was a little more aggro than when we reached out to her, but it could have been worse. Maybe.
With that, she left me standing alone in the lounge again. I flopped back into my seat with a sigh. Maybe I should just go down to the lobby. Trent and his group were supposed to arrive soon, and I planned to be there to greet them.
So yeah, I'll go do that, I guess. Okay, am I defending Trent this time? Oh, I am. Barf. Fine. I believe that boy.
I'm not sure about that. Just because he contacted me, even if it was suddenly, doesn't mean he had nefarious reasons. We dated for 2 years.
But you can't deny there are a hell of a lot of potential connecting points here. I read enough of the briefing to know that.
Listen, the Trent I know was really focused on work. Too much to get involved in a rebellion.
What about getting involved in illegal research and experimentation because it's more interesting than the legal stuff?
I don't think he'd risk it. I mean, you risk losing everything when you do that. I mean, I've seen how focused he gets on his work. It's hard to imagine him being interested in a rebellion or risking everything for illicit research.
People change.
I know they do. Even so, it's hard to imagine.
The important thing is just to keep a clear mind going into this. You may think you know this guy well, but it's been a year.
Oh, don't worry. I know that, too.
And you don't want to let feelings get in the way of this. I don't want to hear it when you're all up in your feelings about Jack, Mr. Caleb, sir, okay?
I don't know what feelings you believe I still have, but I moved on a long time ago.
You're the one defending this guy.
I'm not defending him! Even though I picked a choice that said defend Trent. But as far as I'm aware, he hasn't done anything wrong.
Then why are you getting upset?
I'm upset because you're being rude, as usual.
Caleb, that's enough. Morgan says she has no residual feelings. Shouldn't we take her at her word?
Thank you.
In any case, she'll be writing daily reports about her interactions. Any bias will be easy to spot from that.
Thanks. I will not be biased. Would one of you like to do this job instead?
All that aside, assuming he knows something, you think you'll be able to get anything out of him?
Who can say? I've never tried to get anything out of someone before. And with that, I'm skipping. Alright. Okay, am I being neutral this time? I am being neutral this time. Dang it. Oh, this is where it really starts to get painful. It bothers me that everyone read it, ARI included. People are already doubting me, looking at me as some inexperienced outsider. I want to prove I'm serious about this.
No one whose opinion matters doubts you, Morgan.
I appreciate the vote of confidence. But if I have to work with them at some point, their opinion matters. There are already rumors about me. I know I'm being watched. I want this assignment to go well, whether it's a puff assignment or not.
What? Puff assignment? Who the hell called it that?
Well, Heidi, yesterday, before you and the others arrived. Yvonne attempted to hide the eye roll. She failed. Miserably.
Tell me, Morgan, since when do we care what Heidi thinks?
It's not that I care, exactly. I mean, I only feel it would be better if we could get along, and that won't happen as long as it looks like I'm not taking things seriously.
Morgan, this is a huge organization. It's impossible to get along with everyone. There are tons of people in this place I'd gladly beat up.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
Because you know me well, that's why. But the point is that, yeah, Heidi is annoying because she's being open about her tantrum. But you shouldn't let her stress you out. Heidi is not your responsibility. Not her feelings, not her ambitions. You need to worry about your own training and this assignment.
I'm worried about this assignment. That's what this whole thing is about.
Fair. But you have enough on your plate to also burden yourself with some kind of fear of letting us down or embarrassing us. That won't happen.
I know you're right. I'm frustrated, that's all.
Don't worry about this thing with Trent seeming trivial or whatever. Your past relationship with him is why you got this assignment. No one thinks it's trivial. None of us read that report and decided you were making light of the situation, so don't worry about that. We all can see you're trying to make this work. Most of us go through years of training before our first assignment. You got a month and a half. And your assignment involves someone you had a relationship with in that past. That stuff is always tricky to navigate. We get it.
Thanks, Vaughn. I think I needed to hear that.
That said, if he doesn't behave today when you see him, I will have a little talk with him. With my
voice, not fist.
Aww.
I guess I should go clean up and take a little while to meditate, like Ari said. Then get myself ready. At least now I know what's on his mind, so I won't be taken by surprise again.
I will check in with you again later today. And this time you better not hide anything from me.
I won't. I promise.
Good girl.
Alright, serious talk time. Okay, I've always accepted his help up to this point. What am I doing this time? Refusing. Aw, man, I'm completely cutting him out. Rude! No, Ari. Don't take this the wrong way, but I don't want you there. I can do this myself, and it'll be weird interacting with Trent if you're lurking over my shoulder.
I wasn't planning to lurk.
I know you're a part of my guard and everything, but that doesn't mean I'm incapable of doing things on my own. I don't need protecting from Trent. Ari looked like he would argue, so I set a hand on his chest and looked up at him intently. Whatever words he'd been about to say died on his lips. I appreciate the gesture, but I'm going alone. If he does anything odd today, I will allow you to go with me tomorrow. Today, I'm going alone. Look at this. You've made him sad. Are you proud of yourself, Morgan?
Are you certain?
I wasn't used to seeing an expression like that on Ari's face. Usually he accepted everything with the same impassive calm, but at the moment he seemed unsure. Almost sad. Yeah. I gave him a slight smile. I'm sure I'll be fine. Thank you for the offer, though. Not wanting to continue the argument, I started away from him, waving over my shoulder. I'll check in with you afterwards, okay? So don't worry. I left Ari there and headed down to the archives alone. On my way, I sent Trent a quick message to tell him I'd be meeting them there, even though I was already listed on their schedule as their endgame contact, so he should already know. This whole scene will probably play out differently. Right? Right. When I reached the research archives, I had to stop in the entrance and take it all in again. I had been here before. Vaughn had brought me when she'd given me a tour a while back, but it still took my breath away. It was so amazing and beautiful.
I will never tire of looking at this place.
I stiffened at the sound of Trent's voice behind me. I started away from him, because I sensed he was about to drape an arm over my shoulder. This boy. But before I could, someone else stepped through the entrance and grabbed Trent's arm, stopping him anyway. Oh, dang! Let's go! Get him! Get him, Ari! Big fan, big fan. Ari? Trent looked mildly affronted at Ari's intervention, and I was doing my best to keep the absolute outrage out of my voice. I told him I didn't need his help.
Morgan, I didn't expect to see you here.
You sneaky little...
A, colleague?
He pulled his arm from Ari's grasp, looking at me curiously as I tried to mold my face into some semblance of totally not contemplating strangling someone. Yes, he must have had some other work to do in the archives today. I didn't expect to see him here either. Neutral tone of voice. Neutral tone of voice.
Quite.
I'm going to kill him.
However, as a member of her guard, it would be remiss of me to not remind you, a guest here, that she is on duty. As such, it would be best to refrain from public advances on one of our highest-ranking members.
Thank you. He gave a slight nod and started away from us, just dropped the microphone and left.
What does he mean by your guard?
It's a team of people that works with me. He's also been training me.
He seems... friendly.
Ari is work-oriented, yes. And you really need to refrain a bit.
So what's his rank?
Ari is a knight. Why?
Ari? You mean Ariel Vaughn? That knight? The highest-ranking knight in the organization?
I noticed several nearby people look up at Trent's loud exclamation. There were quite a lot of people in the area, including a table full of junior agents who were now all staring. I gave a little embarrassed wave, and, face heating up, I glared at Trent. You don't have to shout. And yes, that knight.
Seriously? Can you introduce me? He's your teacher, so you can, right?
I can? With Ari now looking our way, I kinda tipped my head towards Trent, giving him a questioning look. I had no idea what this was about. Seeming a little hesitant, Ari came towards us.
This is incredible! I honestly couldn't imagine getting a chance to meet you while I was here.
You know him? Of him? Are we back? We're back. Okay. So then the rest played out the same after that. Interesting, interesting. Am I emotional this time, Mr. Maggie? I am. Okay. Sorry, I have to like scroll down a bit. I'm like, where am I on my walkthrough? There we go. That'll make it easier for me to see. I don't think he would do it. I don't think he would do it. I did get that sense from the report. I stopped, trying to figure out how to proceed. Is he saying my report is biased? Dang it, Caleb was right. I mean, Ari was right. Whoever was right. I tried hard to ensure it wasn't. I don't think he has the skills to coordinate an assault on Endgame's restricted files.
He doesn't need to have been the one who coordinated it to be involved.
I think I'd notice if something was off with him. He seemed normal.
Your report mentioned that he was displeased with your having been forced to join Endgame, even to the point of suggesting you go to Syrah to hide.
That's true, but I don't see what that has to do with my files being accessed. I also don't think he's planning to launch a daring rescue.
And if he was?
I think he'd find it rather difficult to rescue someone who isn't in need of rescuing.
I'm glad to hear it. Regardless, it doesn't change that your files were accessed, as well as ARI's, and it was almost certainly that group, or one of them.
Yes, there is that. Another familiar face walked past us. She paused and looked my way, her expression unreadable. I had no idea how she felt about all this, given she had never liked me to begin with. She said nothing. She just grabbed a bag from near the door before she walked out. Okay. The group next to us followed a few seconds later, leaving us alone. There was nothing to be done about it. Except skip again. Am I being neutral? I am being neutral. This is so painful. I wasn't sure what to say to that, but he was definitely bothered by his own behavior of late. I wasn't sure how to help. I mean, I'd noticed it too, that he had been out of sorts the past few days. He said it wasn't just fatigue, but had to be at least partially related to overwork. I wasn't sure what else it could be. I just don't know. Maybe Caleb should go with me to the meeting today. I think you need some time off. Time to rest. No work. At all. Ari looked as if he would disagree, but he shut his eyes and let out a long breath.
Perhaps you are correct. It might be helpful to spend some time getting myself back on track.
What do you even do to relax anyway?
Read, usually. Caleb and I sometimes square off at Volatant as well.
Somehow that doesn't seem at all relaxing. Though, I guess if you like contact sports. A good jog seemed like it would be more relaxing than throwing oneself around a room with Caleb trying to keep a ball away from him. Maybe you can rest for a while and meet up with him later?
Perhaps.
Ari, I hope you realize I'm worried about you.
There is no need for concern. I will consider stepping back from some of my duties going forward.
I finally left my spot in the kitchen and went towards him. I was startled when he took a quick step back. Like he was afraid of me getting too close. The look on his face was almost panicked. Why does he seem so shaken up? I didn't try to get closer to him. Why don't we sit down with Vaughn and Caleb to discuss a training rotation for me? Rather than putting everything on you, the three of you can take turns overseeing my sessions. That should give you some downtime without depriving me of a teacher.
That could be a viable solution. I'll contact Caleb to see if he's free to go with you in my place.
Don't worry about it. I'll send him a message and work out the details with him, okay? You rest.
Very well.
He gave me a curt nod, then swiftly left my apartment. After he was gone, I flopped on the sofa for a few minutes before I sent a message to Caleb to check if he was all right with going with me to see the researchers. To my surprise, I got an immediate response. All right. He didn't even ask why Ari couldn't go or what the problem was. He just said he would go and left it at that. After that was squared away, I decided to go have a quick shower before I left. Okay, no. Is this... Oh, right. I think this is when he would have teleported into her shower. Is that still gonna happen? Ooh, that'll be really awkward. As much as I tried to get myself focused for the meeting and how I might get some information from Trent's two companions, my mind kept going back to Ari. He had seemed so distraught earlier, so unlike himself, and he didn't even want me to get close to him. It was obvious I was the source of his struggle, but I wasn't sure what to do about it. Given how emotionless he was, it could just be he was really unused to feeling, well, anything. It was frustrating to think my being here had thrown him off to that degree. That had never been my intent. I had never discouraged his feelings, though it wasn't like I knew I should. And it wasn't like I wanted to discourage them. There's the truth of it. And I shouldn't have to. Wasn't that the same as saying that he shouldn't be able to have feelings for someone? That couldn't be right. Maybe the issue was just the speed at which things were changing. I placed my hand against the tile, tipping my head down as I let the water stream over me. Relationships were tough enough as it was, and Ari had some unique struggles. We couldn't just struggle forward and figure things out like we normally might. We needed to talk, though I suspected I shouldn't rock up and ask him if he was unsure and nervous because he was falling for me. Maybe I should talk to Vaughn about it again. She would probably have some good advice. There was a sudden drop in temperature, the odd sense of everything bending, and then... Well, bye! I'm extricating myself from the situation. And instead I'm gonna go out for dinner with this beautiful boy. I think I can manage it. Probably. I didn't have anything for the evening except filing my report. Though I need to find Ari and talk to him as well. That was a really pressing matter, actually. Yup. But it might be helpful to spend some more time talking with Trent to see if I could get him to open up about anything else regarding Syrah. It was clear there were some hard feelings among some of his colleagues. Maybe I can try to get some information about Matt as well. As much as I wanted to get things sorted with Ari, I didn't feel right about putting my personal relationship over this assignment and declining Trent's offer. Now, more than ever, I needed to find out if he knew anything. We left it there and I hurried after Caleb. Alright. Well, this'll be great. It made me all the more certain about spending more time with Trent and trying to learn which of his colleagues was pro-independence. I had a sneaking suspicion it was Matt. I sent him another message to confirm our dinner plans, and he responded too quickly. I would need to stay focused so I could guide the conversation where I wanted it. Oh yay, romantic date in the gardens, let's go.
This place is really beautiful. I can't get over it.
I guess they think everyone needs a place to go and relax.
I suppose working here is pretty high stress.
That's true of a lot of places. I'm sure lab can be high stress too.
Sometimes. Syrah is just a high-stress place in general at times.
I'm sure that's especially true these days.
I'd be lying if I didn't say the tension was worse than usual these days. Like I said before, everyone knows someone affected by the mining issues.
Even you?
Well, it's not like I got out of the lab much. But, you know, colleagues all have someone. I guess that's one reason Matt's so frustrated about our research being stalled.
Here we go. After spending all evening struggling to bring it up in a natural way, we finally got to this subject. So he has someone who's sick? Or injured, I guess?
Probably more than one someone. Family, friends.
Must be someone close to him if he hates us that much.
I doubt he hates you on a personal level.
That's a relief, I suppose. And what about Gina, then? She seemed a lot less angry.
Oh, Gina's from Arcalis, like me. Another from New Albion. She came up about 7 months ago, I guess? Matt was born and raised on Syrah. And I mean, it's rough up there sometimes. There are days it feels a little like the colonies are forgotten.
We walked without speaking for a few minutes as I mulled that over. Matt was the only one from Syrah, then. That would explain his attitude compared to the other two. Did it automatically mean he was the culprit? It was starting to look that way, for sure.
Hey Morgan, is there something going on with you?
What? I tried to keep my voice steady at the sudden question.
I don't know. At first I thought you volunteered for this, for overseeing our research, because of me. But you've been pretty adept at keeping your distance from me, so I can't figure out why you volunteered.
Ugh. How do I fix this?
When they announced Endgame was investigating the dissidents, I'll admit I started wondering if there was a connection there.
He laughed a little, scuffing his feet as we walked. I was unsure how to respond to him.
I guess you couldn't tell me if that was it. Though I can't say what connection you assume we have with all that. And then I think that for some reason you were told to spend time with me because someone suspects I'm a... who knows? A spy or something? It makes me angry. Not at you! I mean, I'm not mad at you. Just the idea they'd do that to you.
They didn't do anything to me.
They made you join.
Trent, there were people after me. I was in danger. It's not like they just showed up for no reason.
People were after you? What does that mean?
It means that there are people who keep their eye on the awakening of new Espers. And those people discovered a defenseless queen rank just living her life in ignorance. There are some groups on this planet that would do anything to get their hands on someone like me. Or to just get rid of me. I watched him as I spoke, trying to detect any betrayal of emotion, any indication he knew he might be working for someone like that. There was nothing but concern on his face. I was an easy target, and if not for Endgame, I might be dead now. Or worse.
I should never have left.
You think if you stayed, you'd have been able to prevent anything? You'd have been in danger just like my family.
Then I should have taken you with me.
He stopped and took my hands.
You could still come with me. I'm sure we can somehow...
I couldn't deny there was a part of me that wondered if I could. A part of those old dreams that wouldn't die. My hesitation must have been enough to spur him on. He squeezed my hands tight. Maybe the bad ending is us leaving with Trent. Oh god, that would be such a bad ending.
If the bid for independence is successful, no one will support Endgame maintaining jurisdiction over Syrah. No one wants them there stalking citizens around or being a constant threat to the Esper population. If not that, they'll probably give asylum to any Esper that wants it. There are rumors of Espers being pretty involved in the higher echelons of the Resistance, and rumors of wanting Syrah to be a haven for them. It's not digging in the ruins on Dione, but Syrah could be a real possibility for you. If we can just...
There was a powerful longing stirred up by his words. A hint of desperation at the thought I could get some semblance of my old life back. A stubborn bit of pride that made me want to latch on and fight for that. I didn't want old dreams crowded out by new responsibilities, but there were other considerations too. I didn't just gain responsibilities here at Endgame. There were also people I cared about. Ari's face flashed in my mind, aw, and I finally removed my hands from Trent's grasp, letting out a long breath. It would never work. Maybe if I'd gone with you from the start, I would have been out of reach, or they never would have found me. But now? Trying it would just put people in danger. It could even put my family in danger again. I can't risk that. And I don't want to.
But...
I'm grateful you care enough to worry. For a long time, it felt like you must not care at all. But if there's one thing you should remember about me, it's that I don't linger in the past. When it comes down to it, I keep moving forward. No matter what. Dwelling on the past or what could have been won't help either of us.
Maybe you're right.
I thought you'd learned by now. I always am.
Yeah, I know.
He looked in that moment like he might cry. And despite the strong pull to comfort him, I moved away. It felt like shutting the door on that part of my life and acknowledging I was in a new chapter. It was heartbreaking. And it was also strangely freeing. like letting go of something that had chained me down until that moment. Well, good. Good. We parted ways not long after, and I spent the majority of my walk back to my place writing down our conversation so I could include it in a report later on. Somehow, dinner with Trent also made me even more determined to talk with Ari and straighten things out with him. My head was a little clearer than it had been before. Imagine my surprise when I found Ari standing outside my flat, like he was unsure if he should knock. Hello? We're back, are we? I had dinner with him. One of his colleagues was acting strange today. I wanted to find out more information about him.
I see. And were you successful?
Were we? We were. Hey. What's happening now? You haven't done anything wrong.
I have...
He took a deep breath.
I believe I have allowed myself to become too attached. That I have begun to develop romantic feelings for you.
There's nothing wrong with those kinds of feelings.
I'm sure it's been troublesome for you. My behavior lately has been erratic, agitated.
Me too. And distracted. By you. He gave me a surprised look when I said that. It's not strange or problematic for two people to be attracted to each other, or to develop feelings like this.
What about Trent?
What about him?
I just thought you share a lengthy history with him. Your history with me is not even 2 months old.
It's not history that matters here. What matters to me is the present. I don't know for sure what's developing between us, but I don't think there's any need to rush it. We can just move forward slowly and see how things develop. I don't want to be the source of any anxiety or discomfort. That's my biggest concern.
I'm not uncomfortable with this. With you. I don't dislike this feeling. I'm just unsure how to manage this.
You don't have to manage feelings. You can just let them be. Are we back? We are back, okay. Alright, so a slightly different confession. It was still, that was kind of sweet in a way. It was like bittersweet confession in a way. I liked it. Alright, now we're going like full on emotion. I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready. I am definitely not ready. I thought I'd have more time before they sent me out for something like this. I took a deep breath, not wanting to whine or freak them out. Complaining wouldn't change anything. It would only send me into a spiral of anxiety and negative ideation. I gave Vaughn a shaky smile. But I guess... Is anyone really ready for their first mission?
No, but not everyone's first assignment is riot suppression either. Are you going to be okay?
I'll be fine, Vaughn. Really. And... Are you okay? Okay. Here we go again. Uh-oh. Things have changed with Heidi. I don't like the sounds or looks of this. Yeah! Just get out and let us handle this. Go back and be protected by your guard. Let us do the work we've trained for. I'm here to help. I've been training too. You're a hindrance. Let us work in peace. What was I supposed to say to that? How could I respond? A petty argument about this stuff now, of all times, would only cause problems for everyone. I steeled my jaw and exhaled to the count of 5. Fine. I won't argue over this. I stalked away from her, almost shaking with anger. Oh no, Heidi's gonna move stuff, not be strong enough, and drop it on the bomb and blow herself up. Heidi, you fool! I was not going to just let this go. Not by a long shot, but I was nothing if not patient. Now wasn't the time to argue with her, so I'd back down now. For now. But this wasn't okay. Arguing with me out in the field was the hindrance. I would have to talk about it with Vaughn and find out how to lodge a complaint with Heidi's superior. She would not get away with this again. She may not have the chance to. I returned to where Vaughn had originally left me, as she was also getting back from what she had been doing. What was all that about?
Well, it looks like that might have been a vehicle used by the bombers. There was an unarmed explosive device in it and other components. We gathered everything up as evidence, and they'll be taking the car in too. What were you doing? I told you to stay put.
Sorry. I saw Trent and the others. I had to check on them.
Trent? What was he doing out here?
Apparently his companion Gina wanted to do some sightseeing. They were caught up in the explosion that happened next to the cafe they were at.
Damn.
It didn't seem like Trent or Matt was hurt badly, but Gina? They're not sure where she is. She might be in that building still, and... My comm let out a soft double beep right before Caleb spoke.
We're on our way back. Things on this side have settled. Meet us at the corner of Anuran and Cambrii.
Are you both alright?
Everything's fine.
The connection cut off and Vaughn and I shared a look.
Charming as always. Let's go.
Okay, nothing exploded. The intersection he wanted to meet us at wasn't far. I cast a last, frustrated glance at the cafe before I followed Vaughn. Caleb and Ari met us there as they said and filled us in. Both looked a little disheveled. Caleb in particular looked like he'd been in a scuffle. I moved closer to Ari, trying to see if he'd been hurt anywhere. His hair was a mess, but he seemed fine. Phew. I spoke too soon about the explosion. I was about to ask when a powerful explosion cracked through the air, shaking the ground and sending me tumbling into him, ears ringing. I didn't even have time to look around.
Get her out of here, Ari!
It took a second to register what that meant, but she and Caleb were already darting away. I saw the fire and smoke out of the corner of my eye. In an instant, we were stepping out onto another street. I looked around wildly, trying to get my bearings again. I could faintly hear shouting and more sirens, but Ari seemed to have taken us quite a distance away. What was that?
It seems there was an explosion.
I know that much, but where? He tilted his head a little, as if listening to something I couldn't hear. I grabbed his arm, frustrated. Do not shut me out of this! If I am enough a part of Endgame to be out here in the first place, then damn it, I deserve to know what's going on! We had people all in that area! Is everyone okay? Oh my god, was it that car Vaughn was helping investigate?
It seems the explosion was inside a damaged cafe near where we were.
My stomach dropped through to the ground. That cafe. Heidi was in there. I told her there might be a survivor. My throat constricted, making it a struggle to finish.
Why were you under that impression?
When the building next to it was hit, the cafe also took some damage. Trent and the others were there, having breakfast. He and Matt were outside when the explosion happened, but Gina had just gone into the cafe. They weren't able to reach her through the net either. They thought she must still be inside. Ari was silent again, his gaze far away.
They're unsure exactly what happened. It's possible Heidi and the other agents with her triggered an unexploded device.
Then they... My mouth was dry. Wait. No. This wasn't right. This wasn't happening, right? Windows rattled nearby as I gripped my head, trying to convince myself it wasn't happening. Oh no. Get it together, girl. Don't freak out. This was my fault. They had... Because of me. They had...
Morgan!
I looked up at him to find him leaning down so he was at eye level. He took me by the shoulders, holding me tightly. Just start tapping her on the head.
Morgan, you will need to calm down. The others will check on the status of those agents. For now, that isn't your concern.
His expression softened and sighed.
Oh, I know it is difficult. But you must get a grip on your emotions, unless you wish to cause more damage.
That was what snapped me out of the panic. I staggered back from him, swallowing hard as I tried to recall one of his calming techniques. He said nothing for several minutes and simply gave me space to calm down.
As difficult as it may be, for now we must continue on our mission. There are still civilians who are trapped. The others will help our agents if they are still able to be helped. But our job does not stop, even if we lose one of our own. Let's go.
He released me and started walking away from the direction of the explosion. It seemed like a cold response, but I saw his hand tapping frantically on the side of his leg as he walked. Ah, my heart. Ugh. I squeezed my eyes shut, forcing myself to take a few deep breaths before I followed him. If he could do it, so could I. We met up with Vanessa and Caleb again after that. The mood was even more sober than it was before, but we didn't talk about what had happened. The others stayed closer this time, and we worked with far more caution than before. I didn't have much time to think about it the rest of the day, except in small moments when we had breaks. I could see the weight of it bearing down on the others in those moments. The way they'd stare ahead silently, listening to the sounds of others working around us. The way Vaughn would huddle next to me, rubbing her legs without saying a word. And I'd suddenly realize how close I'd come to dying, and realize there was a high chance someone I knew was gone. It didn't feel real at all. That was honestly the kind of ending I was expecting for Heidi under normal circumstances, so I guess it was just reserved for the bad ending, unfortunately. But it was the only tragedy we had. I didn't get an update until we got back to Cor Solaris, and the day's casualty report came out. There were a lot of minor injuries, and 2 serious injuries from that explosion, and 2 deaths to add on to the growing list from the explosions. It seemed so horrible for a person who had been alive only a few hours prior to be reduced to a name on a list. By the time I read that, I was exhausted, mentally and physically. I just wanted to rest, and to not think about anything for a while. We lost someone I knew, and maybe it should have been me. Maybe I should have stood my ground, or called Vanessa over to help. But then we could have been hurt as well. I could have been the one who set off that unexploded charge. There was no knowing what would have happened. My thoughts were a jumble of what-ifs and maybes, and I knew it was an effort of futility to indulge them. Why didn't I have a premonition like before? Why was it something that only showed up sometimes, not when I needed it most? I had been exactly the useless outsider Heidi thought I was, and now she was dead because of it. Heidi's dead because she decided to pick a fight in the middle of a crisis. That is not your fault. I scrubbed at my eyes, doing my best to push the thoughts away, because there was nothing else I could do. But I've got a medical exam to go to. Yeah, it was a long day, and some of it was less than great. There was a, explosion. Some of our agents were caught in it.
Want to talk about it?
Not really, no. I just want to get this checkup over with so I can go rest.
This isn't the kind of thing you signed up for, huh?
It is when I joined Endgame, I guess.
But it's not what you wanted.
No, but it's the work I have to do. Hello.
I understand there was a casualty among your acquaintances. A young agent whom you knew.
We didn't know each other well, and we didn't get along. As expected, he tipped his head back and watched me thoughtfully, observing every little movement as always.
The death of an acquaintance can be unnerving, regardless how well you knew them. And regardless if you liked them.
I shot him a quick look, surprised at that response instead of an analysis of my body language. This boy, he can pick up on cues. He's like, maybe now's not the time for an analysis.
You don't wish to discuss it?
Not really. He looked down at his display, typing into it.
Does not wish to discuss emotional distress. Understandable. You need time to process what's happened. However, avoidance of the topic can also be a sign of greater emotional distress.
See? We're back to emotional distress.
I read the preliminary report of the incident. That it was you who indicated there might be a survivor trapped in the building. It would not be unrealistic to assume you might be experiencing some level of guilt for having survived the day when another did not.
He was blunt as always, and hearing the words somehow made my throat constrict painfully.
Increased blood flow to the face.
He murmured the words as he leaned against the nearby counter. I hated how observant he was sometimes.
I will put in a request for time off. I believe you require it. This ordeal has been a lot to absorb for a first assignment. I will also put in a request to speak with a counselor.
I don't need... I stopped when I saw the look on his face. He was uncharacteristically serious.
You are struggling to express yourself. You are struggling to express any emotion about the situation. My observation is that you are usually quite outspoken. Yet that fails to be the case today. While it is understandable, that doesn't mean it shouldn't be addressed. Today was a traumatizing experience. You are almost definitely experiencing some form of survivor's guilt or post-traumatic stress. It is only expected after what you've seen. Unlike the rest of us, you do not have the years of training to cope with this sort of unexpected occurrence. Even experienced agents struggle with grief and loss, Morgan. There is no shame in that sort of struggle. The brain's emotional responses sometimes play by their own rules. They ignore training. They ignore logic. Sometimes they require time and outside advice on coping strategies. Caring for one's mental health is as important as caring for one's physical health in this organization. I will not permit you to neglect that aspect.
I suppose you're right.
Of course. Many people deny symptoms of post-traumatic stress or try to diminish them and convince themselves their trauma is insignificant. However, you were quite literally pulled off the street by the imbeciles at the top. You do not have the years of training the rest of us have. Today was undoubtedly both eye-opening and unnerving. It's well within the realm of natural human behavior to experience symptoms of trauma. Best to deal with them head-on than delay treatment.
I understand. Okay, now moving on to skipping. Okay, she's doing her report. Or so I thought. But it wasn't quite as easy to do one without the other. The moment I started trying to explain what happened at the cafe, everything started coming back. The frustration, the guilt. But I struggled my way through it so it would be over with. By the time I was finished, I was more on edge than expected. Jittery and anxious, I was considering going for a walk. Oh, and then Ari came. We wanted to make sure I was coping, eh? I laughed dryly. I don't know that I'm coping, exactly. I can't stop thinking about how she was only checking that building because of me.
You couldn't have known what was inside.
Couldn't I? I'm a queen rank. I've seen future events before. I saw that you and Kayla would show up at the restaurant before you did. I felt the threat of that thing chasing me that day. Why didn't I feel the threat of that bomb about to go off? Why?
Because you're only human, Morgan. Even trained bishops can't see everything. Otherwise, today would never have happened at all.
I should have been able to see it. Ari pulled me into a gentle embrace. Aw.
We are not all-powerful. And we all question ourselves when we lose one of our own. We all wonder if we couldn't somehow have prevented it. We tell ourselves that we must go on for their sake, to give their deaths meaning. But we also mourn, and we strive to be stronger so we won't lose more of our comrades in the future.
I don't know if I can be strong enough.
That's a thought for the future, Morgan. For now, it is all right to allow yourself to weep. You don't have to be strong in every moment.
Damn. Man, this boy. I swiped my palm across my eyes, trying to avoid doing just that. Ari pulled away and caught my face in his hands.
I also am struggling with today's events. When I think that it could have been you, it makes me realize how much I would hate to lose you. In spite of everything, I'm afraid I can only be grateful that you avoided that danger.
Okay, no affection this time, just emotional, give him a big hug. I didn't know what to say. Even if I assured him over and over again that he wouldn't lose me, at the moment it felt like false assurance. I hugged him tightly, pressing myself against him as if that would make everything else vanish. Ari let out a shuddering sigh and wrapped his arms around me. I couldn't be sure if he was seeking comfort or seeking to comfort. Why not both? Maybe both. It wasn't always going to be like this. I was certain it got easier and wouldn't be like this every time. We wouldn't always be dealing with the loss of a colleague. But there were bound to be tough assignments that came with loss. I was so glad I didn't have to be alone right now. I was so grateful he had stopped by. Oh yes, about not waiting. Okay. I think we had, like, sweet end stuff with, like, a smooch and then he left after falling asleep or something? Possibly? I think I've done this one before, right? No, I haven't. Okay. This is our last choice, and then we get our bad ending, so here we go. It would be nice if they let me keep getting away with that, but I somehow have the feeling it would be frowned upon.
We might be able to get Sasuke to sign off on it. He was pretty worried about your mental state the other day.
That was a bad day. But I can't hide from who and what I am every time there's a bad day. That isn't going to work. And I think, given my background with Trent, it might be good to have me there. If things take an unpleasant turn, maybe I can talk him into just surrendering or something.
And if you can't?
I can just punch him in the face, I guess? I don't think Trent was involved in the attack. I mean, he was caught in an explosion and got hurt. That seems counterproductive. But we need to be certain. And if he was involved, he needs to be held accountable. If he's helped Gina hide, he needs to be held accountable for that. Because she needs to be held accountable. I just think, even if I want to hide from this, people's lives are worth more than this. I can't ignore that.
All right. I understand.
Also, I can't wait to see Ari's face when he sees you in that getup, girl. Okay, well now we're here. So... Okay, so Gina's threatening Trent.
I think you should stop if you don't want Trent to get hurt, Morgan.
Actually, out of curiosity, where were we? Man, we were like here for passionate end. I didn't actually check for sweet end. Missed opportunity, but damn, we like so far down. We might have more affection with Ruben and Jack. Oy. Anyway. She had him by the back of the hair, a sonic weapon jammed against the side of his neck. Let him go!
That kind of defeats the purpose of a hostage, though, right?
What the hell is wrong with you people? Do you think you'll get away with this?
Yeah, we do.
I struggled to sit up, but my captor shoved me face first to the ground. Twisting my head around, I kept an eye on Gina, and trying to work out if I could take her down and get to Trent before one of the others heard him. My teleportation was still dodgy. I mean, I could clearly do it, but doing it on command was the hard part. and this wasn't something I could risk leaving to chance.
Sorry, Morgan. She promised she'd help me get you away from them. Get you to Syrah safely. I wanted to help you.
Damn it, Trent! I told you I didn't need that!
I just hated seeing you forced to do that kind of work. To be honest, I was a little surprised you were able to find us as easily as you did. We had our knights set up a reverse cage to keep the others from locating us. But we were hoping your connection to Trent meant if we gave him a little boost, he'd be able to reach you telepathically. All we had to do was stimulate his thoughts of you. And it worked as expected.
I knew it! That was the injection they'd given him.
I'm so sorry. I wasn't trying to reach out. I couldn't control it. Well, it doesn't matter anyway. You're here, and that's what we wanted. Now it's time to get us out of Brasil before our time runs out. Sorry, Trent.
Damn, Trent died! Holy crap! Well, she shoved him to the ground, and the last thing I saw before everything went dark was her pulling the trigger. This is not a good sound. I didn't know how much time had passed before I came to again. There was the sound of liquid bubbling, the faint, distorted beep of medical equipment. Something was on my face. A mask. Oxygen mask. It was cold. Everything sounded strange. My mind was foggy. I felt like I'd been awakened here once before, but it was hard to remember, hard to think. I struggled to open my eyes. My body felt heavy and light at the same time, as if I was floating. Head hurts. I finally gave up. It was too hard. Sleeping was easier. Damn. She's looking a bit like that one knight we saw in the field the day that Caleb and Ari took her. Similar mask, similar outfit. What does that mean? You guys see what I'm seeing, right? You know the lady I'm talking about, the one that we had like eye contact with and then she teleported and stuff? And then we teleported away from her after she beat up Caleb and Ari? Okay. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't move. Couldn't do anything but just listen to the strange, distorted beep of medical equipment. And sleep. Test subject. Checkmate. Very clever. I like that. Smart. Very, very smart. Okay. Well, you know, there's hope. In that reality, there's hope that Endgame can find Morgan at some point. I'll say that at least. I know that Vaughn and Ari are for sure going to be trying their darndest to find her, at the very, very least. Caleb too, potentially. But damn, Trent just died. Trent and Heidi died in that ending. Whoo-wee. Spicy. Alright, well guys, thank you for joining me for Ari's bad ending. That ended up being quite a bit longer than I was expecting. Might end up doing this in 2 parts. I'll have to see. But regardless, we did it! We are done with our first route of this delightful game, which means it's time to take a break. So, with that, I'll be going over to Bandcamp Boyfriend for a little while, meet up with a new cast of characters, and then we'll be coming back and, meeting this guy. And I'm already counting the days until that happens, so yeah. Hopefully I'll see you for either Bandcamp Boyfriend or back in this delightful world of Gilded Shadows. Either way though, thanks again for joining me. Until next time, I will see you later.